What's up, guys? Welcome to Talk Chain. I'm Rob. With me again is Matt.
Hey everyone.
Today we're going to talk about Bitfinex adopting Segwit, and we're also going to talk about Venezuela's new token, the Petro. Looking at the markets today, Bitcoin's at 11,800, up 6%. Seems to be outdoing everybody else as of late. Total market cap 500 billion. Bitcoin dominance 39.2%.
Climbing.
Pretty impressive.
Yeah, and I think it's really based off this one piece of news that came out. The Bitfinex finally announcing that it has adopted Segwit. So I did a video a little while ago about Segwit and how important it was to create this scalable technology and make it more viable for Bitcoin as an actual currency. And essentially, what it is, it's a slight increase in the block size. So the block size is 1 megabyte, and it just increases it a little bit to make the amount of information that can be transferred in a block higher. And this is going to lead to lower transaction fees and quicker transactions. So the fact that it wasn't a hard fork, this Segwit adoption, it means that the exchanges and the wallets themselves need to actually adopt the technology for it to be widely used. So we're waiting a lot for the exchanges to do this. And Bitfinex is actually the one exchange that has the most fiat to Bitcoin volume out of all the other exchanges. So it's great to see that the top one is coming out and saying that they're adopting Segwit. Coinbase actually released a tweet a little while ago saying that they've done some final testing and that they're actually going to roll out Segwit in the next little while. So it's great to see that competition between the exchanges is forcing them to adopt great technology that's going to actually make Bitcoin better and run smoother.
Okay, so right now, what kind of percent do we have for these transactions? So
so this is the total amount, percent of all transactions that are actually Segwit.
So, and correct me if I'm wrong, it was 95% that needed to be. This number needs to be before it's all implemented.
Yeah. So I mean, there'll still be an option to do a non-Segwit transaction, but to use the technology to its full potential, having all the transactions actually Segwit is ideal. It'll make them quicker and cheaper. And we still, despite this news today, we're still only at 14%. So there's a lot of room to increase here. And I think, given that there might be transactions between Bitfinex and other exchanges that don't support Segwit, but the fact that Bitfinex is ready to go, that now as soon as Coinbase is able to, those transactions are going to be Segwit exclusively.
Yeah, and I think it's only a matter of time. Like if exchanges see that everybody else is doing it, that they will also just try to get involved because they don't want to be the odd person out.
Yeah, and that's what it's looking like. So Bitfinex taking the first step here is great. I really feel like Coinbase has been dragging their feet since they've had every opportunity to actually to implement it, and they just haven't. And part of me thinks it's just because they announced Bitcoin Cash was available to trade on their platform, and the management there is sort of on the team Bitcoin Cash, I think. So that's just my bias, that I'm convinced that they have no real incentive to adopt Segwit unless there's competition from the other exchanges, which today that seems like what's going on.
Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see how this number changes and kind of just keep track of it overall as more exchanges adopt it.
Yeah, I think so. And we're really hoping. So transactions are going to remain high and slow, or the fees are going to be high and they're going to be slow unless this number increases. And it's essentially a slight block size increase, like I said. So once this number becomes much higher, it's going to be great for Bitcoin. And I think this news itself is what's sort of leading to the slight Bitcoin pump that we're seeing now.
Yeah, so anyone who's interested in using Bitcoin as like an everyday currency, you'll want to encourage different exchanges to be adopting it, so you'll be paying less fees and the transactions will happen much faster.
Yeah.
All right, moving on. Venezuela, the first country to actually issue a token.
Yeah, the Petro.
Which is interesting. Yeah, so the Petro, which is linked to their oil reserves.
So it is Venezuela, for those who don't know, is undergoing. They're pretty much turning into a dictatorship right now. They had a democracy. Nicolas Maduro is essentially a dictator who is supposed to be up for re-election in April. It's likely going to be some sort of sham election where he's able to maintain power. But with his policies right now, the inflation of the bolivar has made it an unusable currency right now, and its value compared to the USD is now, I think, 0.00004 to 1 USD. So insane inflation. It's impossible to trade goods using a currency that inflates like that. So their idea was to issue an ERC20 token. It's on the Ethereum network that is supposed to be pegged, or at least some sort of pegging to their oil reserves. But because that isn't what's officially happening now, it's essentially they apparently have some diamonds and gold in reserve that they're using until they transfer the actual pegging to the oil reserves. So it's super shady. This is a colossal disgrace, I think, because they could just help their economy and use the currency that they currently have, but instead they're doing some sort of magic trick to think that they're going to offer something from the government that's actually going to be different than what they already have.
Well, this is interesting because the Venezuelan Congress is against it and says that it's illegal, but the president is saying that it's legal. So I don't know if he has the ability to do that. I assume he's stretching his abilities kind of as things go. But what's going to happen here? So I took a look at their website and pulled up their 2018 roadmap. So it doesn't look like the actual tokens will be available until kind of near or around the election. So anyone that's deciding to get involved in this should be aware that there's a significant amount of risk, that this is potentially like an exit scam where you just kind of raise a significant amount of money and then kind of deke out of it. Like right now there's 100 million tokens in total, but the president is keeping 17.6 million, so he's getting quite a bit. So the higher this goes, obviously, the more money he makes, and if he loses the election, which I'm not up to date myself on Venezuelan politics and how that will actually unfold, but it doesn't look like. I think his worst case scenario is walking away with like this 17.6 million petros, which could be worth a significant amount of money considering that they have an expected value of $60 each. So this is one where you should really do your own research. I'm staying away from it personally, especially with really the roadmap is this. It ends in April 2018.
Yeah, so the idea, he wants to make it seem like they have so much oil that it's worth monetizing that and at least making it seem like their country has value because they're able to tap into these oil reserves. And they've mixed that in with like some gold and diamond reserves that they apparently have, but nobody knows if this is true. I don't know what the end game is going to be here, because I remember a few months ago we talked about how Maduro was going around seeking funding for this token and seeing if other players would come in other countries, and I think he did get that funding. But if something goes on in this election, it's going to completely rattle this whole coin. I personally am staying away. I don't think anybody should get into it. If you live in Venezuela, this might be your only viable option to use as a currency. You could also use other cryptocurrencies, and it seems like a lot of businesses are taking Bitcoin and other cryptocurrencies. But this, coming from the government that's been as corrupt as it is, just seems like they're trying to scam their people for more money.
Well, it's a real issue because Venezuelans can't actually use their own currency to buy it, so they'd have to convert it to U.S. dollars or some other accepted currency in order to do it. But yeah, not looking great for the people of Venezuela right now. But we don't need to get into politics on this one.
Right, but suffice to say that it's interesting that a country's actually jumped in on the crypto train for their own purposes, and to see that it's actually a viable option in some context. Maybe
Yeah.
other countries should look into it.
Yeah, it's tough because I think the best case scenario with this, even if it's everything turns out to be completely legit, is that now we have a centralized
Mm.
currency.
Yeah, which is no different than currencies that we currently have. So it seems like, uh, you know, whoever's behind the coin that's being offered can be a total scam. There's nothing inherently safe about a cryptocurrency like we've seen in BitConnect and all sorts of other ones. So a corrupt government offering a coin doesn't make it any more safe or a better investment because the government underlying it is corrupt anyway. So, but it's interesting that the technology itself has a lot of potential for everybody.
Definitely. But yeah, that should be it for today. Don't forget to like, comment, subscribe, as well as share on Facebook and Reddit if you like what we're doing.
Thanks a lot for watching, guys.
Take care.